And I'm just going to keep spamming the middle while we're logging in. Um, it is 6:30. We'll get started. Uh, Jim Dwarman. Jim! There he is. Jim was coming from an earlier one. I think Jim, were you working with the legacy official, your legacy official this evening?
I was.
Oh, check your volume. I can't hear you. Well, actually, let me check mine. Let me make sure it's not something on my end.
Yeah, Jim, you were good.
Oh,
Okay, can
Jim
you
was
hear me
good.
now?
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Yep.
me.
Yep. There you go.
All right.
There you are. Excellent. Okay. Now I can hear. So my kids use this computer to do gaming, and it takes me probably, I don't know, it feels like forever to like get all the settings like back to like so a normal human can use it. But I'll get it there eventually. So 6:31, I'm just giving it a chance to kind of see if the logins slow down just for a moment. But again, as a reminder, that gives me a minute to remind those people who have not had an opportunity to do so yet, name an MHSA ID number in the meeting chat for the purposes of attendance. And also just so I can say hello to people because allegedly I'm a friendly guy. Okay. Well, it looks like we got 47 participants. Not bad for the opening Monday of the season. And I'll use this as an opportunity to go ahead and get started. So, some housekeeping updates. As a reminder, this is being recorded. So again, do your best to keep your mic's muted until you want to come off to answer a question. And we will be having some video sharing. So I am interested in people's opinions on some of the videos, and hopefully the videos work. I know sometimes they can be a little choppy depending upon your internet connection, but sometimes they work out just fine. And we'll have plenty of opportunities to like actually pause and like talk about positioning and all that kind of thing. So hopefully you're on a desktop or a laptop and you can see those. But even if you're not, the conversation will still be helpful. So again, virtual meeting, just mind your P's and Q's, be invested in the meeting, talk and join. You can raise your hand if you know how to do that in Zoom and be part of the conversation, but do your best to keep your mics muted. Um, some other housekeeping. We have our next meeting is December 17th. If we have time to look at the postseason exam for basketball, we will talk about that and perhaps some of the harder questions on there and kind of have a conversation about that and kind of go through some of those. That's usually a pretty well attended meeting. And it's a very good conversation to get us all into the rule book. So that's December 17th. And it'll be something similar where I will send out a Zoom link closer to that meeting date. And it's going to be same time, I believe, 6:30. But again, that should be in the emails. If you did not get this this reminder for this meeting in your email directly, it means that you are not on a kind of constant contact, or perhaps those emails are going to your spam box. So check the junk folder if I've like sent you an email that said, "Hey, I got you on these email lists." Or perhaps you have done football and baseball, but this is your first time doing basketball, and I don't have you on the basketball list. Just shoot me a quick email, and I'm punching that into the chat box and say, "Hey, Shane, can you help me out and get me on the email list for constant contact?" Because I don't always send them out via Bob's or our arbiter listserv because I don't want to blast a whole bunch of, well, I don't want to blast hundreds of other officials who are not going to be interested in the basketball assignments. I try to be a little discerning when it comes to that kind of thing. So shoot me an email if you need help figuring out constant contact and getting you signed up for that. Next meeting, December 17th, I already said that. For the benefit of assigners, again, just starting, keep your blocks up to date in Arbiter. If you don't know how to do that, we will have some time at the end of the meeting for some newer officials who are maybe just getting used to the Arbiter. And I'll kind of go through that with everybody. Veteran officials don't feel that you have to stay on for that, but that will be at the end of the meeting for some newer officials. And also MIGs. This is officially our third meeting, and some of you might have MIGs updated already, and you might be showing as members in good standing. Some of you might not be. That's in progress. And so when everybody's up to date as best as we have it figured out, I'm going to send out an email, say, hey, everybody, MIGs is updated. If you paid your dues, you attended a couple of meetings, or you said, hey, I was working on, I couldn't make the meeting, help me out, whatever the case might be. If you think you should be a member in good standing with the Metro Detroit Athletic Officials Association, and it's showing that you're not, then you can shoot me or Mike an email after I send that meeting out to say, hey, what gives? I should be a member in good standing. But again, right now, it's a work in progress. Some of you are MIGs, some of you are not. Be patient. We are working on it. That is it for, I think, the housekeeping. It's not bad, about 5 minutes. And again, a few people logged on, name and ID in the chat box, just so we can help take attendance a little bit. Okay. So before we get into sharing any plays or anything, uh, I just want to go over kind of some good preseason reminders, some just general season reminders as we go into this season. And it's going to be for both newer and younger, officials. The one I want to start with is and Jim, you can kind of chime in on this and help out. But um, we have a lot of newer officials here, and we have a lot of veteran officials in our association. And you might find yourself with a couple buds if you're a veteran official that you know really well, and you can just, you slide right in and, have a good time. Or if you're sub-varsity, have one friend and just have fun. Or you might be a more veteran official and you get paired with a newer official. Or perhaps you're two veteran officials on a varsity team and you have a guy who's maybe just starting off with varsity. And maybe the game you're working is like, this is no big deal for me. But for that newer official, it maybe is. And so I just kind of want to talk about how, like, as veteran officials, sometimes if you're not used to giving a pregame, give a pregame. Go through with that newer official and uh, talk about some things that might be second nature for you, but might not be second nature for them. And newer officials, don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm a little new. Can we just kind of go through a brief pregame and kind of help get me focused? And and I'll share one story before, maybe Jim can talk about maybe a little bit about just kind of, some basics of pregame to kind of go over and help us out a little bit. As I remember, I was just starting off working boys varsity, and I was getting a chance to work Clarkston Southfield, and it was when Southfield they were solid that year. And, Clarkston was Clarkston. And, I'm a younger guy, newer guy, new to the area. And I was working with two very veteran officials, two names, I really respected, and I still do after I tell the story. And they knew each other. They went way back. And we're in the locker room, we're changing, we're getting ready. And I was, maybe feeling like a little bit of third wheel. They were just kind of talking amongst each other, that kind of thing. And I just, kind of wanted to just kind of casually say, hey, has anybody seen either of these teams, and know anything about them, yet? And one of the officials, I'll never forget it, just looked at me, said, I don't care anything about these two teams, and just turned right around and went back to talking with his friend. And I basically didn't have any engagement with them for the rest of the evening other than, making calls on the court and and just saying, hey guys, good working with you at the end of the night, and kind of going on my way. Um, as veteran officials, help make newer officials feel welcomed, and newer officials make sure that you are willing to ask questions, appropriate questions. If they give you advice or if they give you a suggestion, hear them out. Maybe maybe you disagree, and that's okay. But hear them out. They've been officiating for a while, and they might have a valid point of view. And we are only going to continue help make this game better as we go throughout the season is if we train up a lot of newer officials and we help keep them around and making it feel inviting for them. Now, Jim, I don't know if you have anything that you want to kind of share along those lines, or maybe just talk about some of the higher points that maybe discussed during a pregame especially if you're a veteran with a newer official.
Yeah, I'll tell this to newer officials. Don't be afraid when you walk in, you're with someone you've never worked with before. Say, hey, this is my first year, this is my second year, or this is my first year working three man or whatever, and tell them and say, can we have a pregame? It would really help me. And as a veteran official, if you hear that, then cooperate and do that. Help these people along. We all have a expiration date on our shelf life. Everyone except Al Casander. I see him on the meeting and he'll keep going forever. But um, let's help the younger generation along and get some new people in here. Back when many of us started, you didn't work these freshman JV doubleheaders. The freshman game, the JV and the varsity were at one school, and the freshman game was at the school that's visiting for the JV and varsity. So you'd only work one freshman or one JV on a day, and you were expected to run, full speed through it. And we got to get these new people in and get back to that and give you know the new people an opportunity and give the kids a fair shake. We shouldn't be officiating games from the back court like we are now because the shortage of official caused us to have to work those double headers. So let's help these new people along.
I see Nick posted in the chat, and he's right that if you're a newer official, there's an old adage. I think it's more of a nursing adage. See one, do one, teach one. That if you're a newer, younger official, don't be afraid to give a pregame, lead a pregame yourself. There's a lot of pregames out there where you can just kind of pull it out and talk through a few bullet points, and those veteran officials, they'll kind of help talk you through some of those bullet points. But absolutely, don't be afraid to lead that pregame and bring up some of the points that you want to emphasize too.
And as a veteran official, when I'm with someone that I don't know for the first, and I don't know anything about them, I might ask them, as an icebreaker. So where have you been working? What type of game? Where have where you've been working? Just find out a little bit, and maybe it'll give you an idea about at what level the pregame needs to be conducted. If you find out that this is someone's, first year working varsity or whatever, then maybe you have to go through a few more basics. But maybe you find out this is someone that moved here and has worked varsity in Ohio for 20 years, and then maybe you can impart some of your knowledge of the two teams, and go over some more advanced concepts. But you know,
Yeah. I'll share a brief story as kind of a newer official in a way. So about 17, 18 years ago, I did a couple years of some lower level, college basketball, and kids were born, and I decided to pull back from that and just kind of work high school a little bit, stay a little closer to home, that kind of a thing. Well, now that my kids are just getting ready to graduate, I'm trying to get back into college a little bit. And so I went for my first college game this year in about literally 17 years. And one of the I said, yeah, I'm just starting to get back into, college a little bit after about a 17-year hiatus break. And he's like, oh, okay, so how many games have you had an opportunity to work, you know, since you're just getting started again? And I said, including today. He said, yeah, one. And he said, and we all had a good laugh. And he said, all right, well, anything you want to go over there? I'm like, yeah, let's go over just some of the real basics that might trip me up. I know them, but I want to hear your take on them. And that helped them know the kind of conversation we had to have before the game to help me out. So, anybody have any points that they kind of want to bring up about that?
I just add, guys, that don't be afraid to tell them your experience. If I'm working with Shane Buys or Jim Dwarman with the years that I've been doing this, I'm still telling these guys, you see something, let me know. I am not perfect. I am open for improvement. And I did a scrimmage with a gentleman that after we were talking, he'd done 20 games at a three-man, but I didn't really get with him on a couple of things that I saw mechanics until after the scrimmage. Then I knew he was, my term is coachable. But don't be afraid to share with your partners that you see something new or old. If I got guys like, these that I'm working with, Steve Tanner is another one that's on here. Shoot, point it out. Let me know. Correct me. I can always go to the book and find out, as I always say. So,
and one thing for the veterans, we had over 40 newer officials at the floor demonstration at the one meeting when I took him to the gym. So there are a lot of new faces. So please help.
Yeah. Um, So changing from like pregame and welcoming new officials, some of the things that we're generally looking for at the season. If you are a varsity official and you have an opportunity to get to the game a little early and maybe catch maybe part of the second half of the JV game, you don't have to watch a lot of the JV game. You can watch maybe a quarter. You can maybe watch a half a quarter or something and see a couple of the officials, and it always warms my heart when those maybe perhaps they're newer officials, they come in the locker room and say, "Hey, did you guys have a chance to see any of the game? You got any, thing to any thoughts to share, And it doesn't have to be a specific play. It can just be how they look running up and down the court, how crisp do their mechanics look. And they're asking, you can be nice when you give them feedback, and even if it has to be a critique. And I always feel bad. Sometimes I am running from a family thing or maybe another game, and I don't get a chance to catch some of that sub-varsity game. And they ask, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I was coming in late, and it's a missed opportunity as varsity officials to help out those sub-varsity officials who might want to be working the next level one day. But what do we look for, like Jim, when we're looking at sub-varsity officials and we are just out there looking at a quarter or something. Some of the things I'm looking at is, are you hustling? For sub-varsity games, even though we're working doubles, we are, what is it, 195 for a freshman JV doubleheader now? Is that right? I think somewhere around there. It's not bad. Uh, get into the front court. If the ball's settled in the front court, get into the front court. There's a transition and you're a lead, get to that end line. Do your best to beat that ball back. Um, and and when you're in the front court, especially in two person, hustling doesn't mean you have to be sprinting, but be moving up and down that end line to get a good position depending upon where the ball is. That trail, if you have to close down to the 3-point line, if that ball goes back out, and we'll share one a play here later. If that division line is threatened, get to the division line to get a good look. Hustle in the front court can just be a few steps. That's one of the things I'm looking at. Jim, I mean, another thing might be how crisp their mechanics look.
Yeah, you can sell yourself very well, even as a newer official, with hustle and good signals and good communication to the table. Um, Remember, you're not in a real hurry. The game, when you blow the whistle, the game stops, and it's not going to start again until you're ready for it to start again. So, you know, this isn't, a running clock wreck game where, the players are losing possessions while you're reporting a foul. So be crisp with your communications and signals and your appearance too. I mean, have a clean uniform, make sure your shirt's tucked in, things like that, which I shouldn't have to say, but I do have to say because I see the opposite out there too often. Um, it sure helped me along starting up, just that I tried to look the part, even though my calls might not have looked the part, and maybe they still don't, but it helps. The athletic directors notice that, and and to quote Bob Check, the ADs will be asking for you.
Mhm.
They comment to Bob when they see new officials that they like. And the same thing with the Gary Wagon shoots or Malcolm or any other assigner. They let them know when they see someone that has promise.
Another thing that, we can notice, even if we don't see a play like a bang, bang, block charge, did he get it right? That kind of a thing, is how are you managing the game? If two or three, four players go to the court and they're all getting tied up, are you, calling a held ball from 30 feet away and just kind of lackadaisically kind of getting to the scene of the crime while maybe a few players are getting ready to kill each other? Or is at least one of you hustling in and, all right, guys, easy up. I'm here, easy up, hell ball. You know, if a coach is asking a question, are you letting that coach wander around or are you, quote unquote, addressing it? Maybe just kind of guiding them back into the box. How is your game management skills and just kind of controlling it? That's another thing that just you can pick up on in maybe just 2 or 3 minutes of gameplay, watching somebody work. So, Jim, anything else to just kind of share for some of the things as far as how like ADs, coaches, and other officials might, be grading us and looking at us for the season before we get into some plays?
No, I think we've covered it pretty well there. So
Okay.
that's
Uh, hey, real fast while I am getting this play set up because I forgot to email it to myself. Um, does anybody have any questions about the upcoming season, play that they saw and they had a question about the interpretation of it, anything like that. And again, of course, as we go along, we can always discuss it if you have a question later.
And no question is too basic, so don't be shy.
And if we have none, we can go to my first play. And I hope this turns out okay. So let me share my screen. You want the full screen. Share. Okay. Let me move this out of the way. Okay, so let me give you the setting. This is a scrimmage. White has the ball in their front court. You're going to see a full court pass, and it is going to be end up being a loose ball. Okay. So first of all, this is two-person mechanic. We got the lead here, and we got the trail here. Trail's in good position. Lead could maybe be a little closer to the A or the C, and you don't want to, as two-person, get caught in no man's land. But I'll just let it play on, and you guys can give me some feedback in the chat as far as how the video is working, whether or not you can kind of see it. But we'll also kind of slow it down and talk through because there is a lot of things to discuss in this one. I'll let it play a couple times. All right. Can, how did that look? Did anybody have a good look on this? First of all, what 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 are some of the decisions? And feel free to come off mute if you are able to see it on your screen. It's not looking too choppy. What are some of the decisions as the trail that you have to be making on a play like this?
How did the ball get to the backcourt?
Great point. Who was the last to touch it, right? Because right now in high school, college is a little different, but in high school, it doesn't matter who made it a loose ball, defense or offense. It's who was the last to touch in the front court and who was the first to touch it in the back court. So we had a touch by White's foot, and then the trail has to decide right here whose foot ends up, because there's another touch in the front court before it goes into the back court. Now, slowing it way down, I could see it was blue defender's foot that touched it before it went into the back court. So once blue touches it and then it goes into the back court, it's free game for anybody to recover. Now, while I have it paused here, and I mentioned this earlier, and again, this is a scrimmage, so be kind. But this was a real game, two-person, or if this was a three-person game and this was the trail nearest to us, what could this trail do to help himself ensure, help ensure that he's more likely to get a correct call?
Uh, Hustle back, be at the same area, same length as the ball,
Thank
so
you,
you can
Frank.
see it, able to see the
Yep.
play better.
Yep. Once that ball turned into a loose ball here at around the three-point line extended, start doing a side shuffle back. Start, 2 or 3, 4 quick steps. Get to that division line and have a nice straight look at it because you can kind of tell he's leaning forward, right? He's doing that. I'm looking around a tree to try to get a good look, you know? And so get there to the division line if it is likely to be threatened. And for those who play, have played ball before, you kind of get that sense. You know when it's likely going to be threatened and when you're going to have an issue.
Shane, can you
Um,
pause it right here for a second?
yeah,
All right. Now I want to say when we started out, the ball was on this side, and our trail official was on ball, and the lead was doing a good job looking at the off-ball officials or off-ball players. Now, right about when the ball's here, it's come out of lead's territory because the ball had swung below the foul line where the lead became primary, and he went out because his sideline was threatened, which was good, and he was on ball. Now, as it starts to come out as a trail, that's something in your periphery. You've watched these guys cutting through the lane and some of this action, at the top of the circle and in the key. No one's threatened. You might want to start backing out because you see the ball is coming out from below the foul line extended into your primary. So you might want to start backing out and even moving onto the court a little more to get an angle. Because when the ball gets another step or two, as Shane lets it go, now it's really your primary. And that call right there, how'd this ball become loose? Was it a foul? Did it get knocked away? Tough to get it from this angle because this guy in the white, not the guy with the ball, but the guy that's kind of going forward into his defender is maybe a little bit in your way as it got, when the ball was, say, a step further back. So you want to both back out, and come onto the court a little more to get, a diagonal angle on
yep,
that. And then when the ball breaks loose, you're closer to the play in a better position. You don't have as far to move when you hustle to the back court.
yeah. Had he taken those few pre-steps before the ball really becomes loose, he would have probably found himself closer to right about here where the two kind of black or darker volleyball lines intersect. And he'd be in a very good position to see a lot of the action. Because now you had, was that a foul? How did the ball become loose? That's your second decision to make. That was actually your initial decision to make. Was there a bump here? How did the white player go to the ground? And then, of course, the final one, and this is where, go ahead. This is what I want. Let's assume there was no foul. Let's assume there was no fouls that should have been called. And we know blue was the last to touch it before it went to the backcourt. So it was a good play on as far as, over and back. There was no over and back. I want to see if you're able to see it. Vote in the chat box, the brave ones. Is this a travel or not a travel? And I'll actually kind of put it more on a bit of a loop here. Hold on a second.
Trainer, are you referring to on the slide there before he
On
gets
the,
up with the ball?
on the slide,
The
or when he
slide in,
lets the
getting up.
ball in the dribble, is any part of that action a travel? See, I got not a travel. I got somebody saying a travel. I got a travel. And feel I got no. Yep, okay. Sliding with the ball is not a travel. And this was why, like, I'm sitting up there as a dad because, okay, this was Bloomfield. My kid was playing in this scrimmage. Uh, but I'm the one doing the recording. But as soon as I saw it, I'm like, ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one. I want to see that one again. All right. So, first of all, let's answer the question. When he is going to the ground, and I'll pause it here for a second. All right. So he has not yet gathered possession of the ball. And there's no player control here. And see if I can give it just a quick. Okay. So he did not gain any kind of possession prior to that initiation of a slide. This is a question you'll find up on the test a lot. That if you are sliding before you gather that ball, you can slide across the court and it's nothing. Now, people will be screaming their brains out, but it's nothing. And that's what you say. You say, coach, he did not have control of that ball until he had already started to slide.
And
Now, the second,
philosophically, we're not punishing a hustle play where someone dives to the floor to get the ball and, their momentum from their dive makes them slide with the ball once they've gathered it.
and I like the way Jim phrased that, is philosophically, what is your default call mode? Your default mode is this is not going to be a travel because we don't want to punish a hustle play unless you have to. Uh, you're not going to punish that hustle play unless it's obvious that he had possession of the ball and then, went to the ground. So again, assuming we're going to ignore that contact, there was no advantage gained from that contact, and we're not going to say it's a foul, that's fine. My opinion, probably should have been a foul called, but I have it under good authority that the coach told him and his partner to not give them the benefit of the doubt in calls this day. So the coach wanted the calls to go against them this day. But in a real game, I would say that's probably enough for an advantage disadvantage bump. All right. Now, the other thing to consider is if you have possession of the ball and you're on your butt, what is your pivot point? Anybody wants to come off mute and say it or type it into the chat box. If
What
you
can you
are
do when you're on the ground with the ball?
on your butt, what's your pivot point and what can you do? See who's brave today.
Dribble or pass?
Dribble or pass, right. Now you can sit up, Nick. That's right, because again, what's the pivot point? When somebody's on the ground, depending upon what body part's on the ground, you have to think of it like they were standing on their feet. What's the pivot point?
Their butt is the pivot.
Bingo, the butt is the pivot point. So they could literally spin around on their butt if they wanted to, because that's the pivot point. And that's why you can sit up and lay back down because the back isn't the pivot point, the butt's the pivot point. And so our question that we have to answer ourselves here is as far as is this or is this not a travel? Because clearly when he's on his knee here, he initiates his trap. He initiates his dribble, right? Before standing up, he initiates a dribble, and that's fine. And then he stands up. What we have to answer is when he is, whoops, let's get this playing again. When he is going for the ball, does he gain full possession of the ball on that butt? And along Jim's line of philosophy, I don't think he had full possession when he was on his butt. He was only on that backside for an instant, on that hip for an instant, and he really didn't have full control of that ball. If you can let it go, let it go. But he did not clearly have control when he was on that hip.
The
And
other,
so when he got to that knee, I would say that, and then started the dribble, it's fine.
he was also still sliding when he got on his knee. I mean, he's still sliding as he, puts the knee, down. So I don't going to the knee is not a travel there, because it was part of the slide.
Yeah.
There's still the momentum of the slide.
Yep. So all right. So good. Hopefully you guys like that video. That was a good one. Um,
And
any
one thing while we're there, and this
Yeah,
didn't happen in that video, when someone's on the ground with a loose ball, don't let the opponent dive on top of him trying to recover the ball. That's going to be a foul if someone has the ball on the ground, this isn't football chasing a fumble. You can't jump on top of someone trying to get the ball when someone already has it.
Jim. Jim, you read my mind. Hold that thought along those lines because I was thinking, what kind of plays are we going to see early in the season? Kids are still coming off the golf course, the football field, soccer field, or whatever. They are still trying to figure out what this round orange thing is that they're playing with. So I have a clip from the NFHS network. It was a game I was in again, and it's similar to, actually, let me mute that. All right, so again, everybody can see. So this is me here. We're going to have a loose ball. And okay, I end up having a held ball. Is that enough when two kind of fell over that guy's legs and kind of on top of him? Is that going to be enough for a foul? Should it have been enough for a foul? And you guys can tell me I'm wrong and say, Shane, yeah, he jumped on. That was enough. See, no foul, no going for the ball.
No
Yeah,
foul.
yep. I I bring this one up because again, in our evaluation for this game, the comment was very close to a dive foul. And kind of just fell over a little bit on the legs and, bit of a hustle play. I thought that one would have been weak, and it would have been weak had I called it. And that was, go ahead. And that was the assessment. But it was just the comment was more that, hey, it was close, be mindful of it. Now, when you got players like on the ground like that, right here, I'm staying here at the scene of the crime, and you'll see in the right-hand side of the screen here coming in, you can see the striped shirt right there. One of my two partners is right there, helping to make sure that they get up. And the third official is, again, this was a varsity game, of course. The third official was staying back to observe everybody else. But you see, we got two of us there to make sure that that action, that pile up, whether or not it was a foul or not, we're staying there until kids get up and get disengaged. Because if it was a foul, don't be in a hurry to turn the table to report the foul and turn your back on the action because you never know when something bad can occur and then you don't see it because you left to turn around to call the foul that you got or the held ball or something. So this was again, this was the other reason why to Jim's point is if somebody really dives on, and I don't have a good example at my fingertips for what is one to be a good foul, but you'll know it when you think, oh, that would have been a good play in football, that's going to be a foul. Any questions on that one? Okay, let me go to let me X out here. Let me go to our clips. I wanted to share again just a couple brief verticality plays. And as we get started into the season, one of the, and again, I'm a dad, I'm in the stands now a lot, but one of the calls that infuriates me, and I bite my tongue and I don't say anything because I know it can be a harder call to make, absolutely, is verticality, is when athletes are being athletes and somebody can just out jump somebody else. Or they get there and they're giving ground and they're vertical. Um, Let me mute this. And again, if you recognize anybody, it's kind of a blurry picture, so let's not stress too much about it. But again, learn from as opposed to, So what we're going to have here is we got white defender. Let me see if I can maximize this. We got white defender right here, and actually I'll kind of slow it down here a little bit. Kind of setting up to kind of take a charge. We got a ball handler here. And so this is prime for, is this going to be a block charge kind of a situation? If this guy goes to the hoop, you got to be thinking block charge. Now, it was a quick change.
Shane, I'm not seeing you on screen.
Yeah,
Oh,
share your
oh,
screen.
well, thank you, whoever that was, for not letting me drone on too long without it. Okay, let's see this again here. All right. All right, so we have lead, trail, center, and there was a quick turnover. The trail was 3-point line extended appropriately for where the ball was, but now we have a, oh shoot, we need to get back kind of a situation. And so we had, as soon as we got disengaged, I start to get on my horse. The lead is turning into a new trail and going. And if you can see kind of the new lead, he's working to get back. He is working to get back. And and it's just one of those, well, here we go. We have, as we're in transition, a sudden change and we find ourselves a little bit out of position through kind of no fault of our own. It's just this happens sometimes on those quick turnovers. You now are going to have to rule, potentially on a block charge. All right. It ended up getting called a block. And for those of you who are kind of being able to see this in the full motion, if you disagree with me, I think this would have been a good no call. There's not enough there for player control. And I think the defender, in my opinion, had obtained legal guarding position, was giving ground. It didn't appear to me that he was shuffling to the side or went into him. Now, to be fair, our camera angle is not what this official's angle was. And so, actually, the screen's so blurry and I don't remember who I was working with. But if they are seeing this now, I did not see that angle that you had, and the camera angle didn't either. But what you want to consider here is, did that defender jump from point A to B? Again, in my opinion, I didn't think he did. I thought it was giving ground. And it definitely was not player control. That would have been impossible to sell as a player control. And so you just kind of let that one play on, in my humble opinion. Jim,
Hey,
you got anything else?
Shane,
Yeah.
unless if I got a doppelganger, I believe that's me. And I would agree with you.
Oh,
He's established his legal guarding position. He is going backwards. So yeah, I would agree. Play on.
And Darwin, that is you. I see that now. And you know what? Props to you for coming off mute, man. That's props to you. Because we can all learn from each other. I love that. So this is again sub varsity or varsity. This is a good opportunity for no call. Now, this game, and I don't know if you remember this game then, Darwin, but we had so many decisions on were they vertical or not vertical. Let me pause that. All right, let me just slow it down here, half speed. And so we have, I think that's Rick here in the lead, me here in the center, Darwin, that must be you again in the trail. And this was a great one. So this is out of the trails primary. And so although the lead will have a good look here in front, that trail is going to take that action all the way down out of his primary. And so we got a ball handler, we got a player here. He establishes legal guarding position. He jumps straight up. Offensive player goes into him. Again, not bad enough for player control or anything. This defender looks pretty straight up too. And Rick just calmly goes, boop, out of bounds. And so this was a great no call. Trail taken all the way in, has nothing. Rick coming in right there in his front lap has nothing. This game, I remember this one just had a lot of good vertical no calls. Because again, when somebody establishes legal guarding position, what can they do? I saw, they can go straight up. What else can they do after they establish legal guarding position? If that guy coming at me is a 300-pound lineman off the football field and I'm only a 150-pound guy, but I want to take this charge, can I turn sideways to protect myself?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Side to side, obliquely, backwards, anywhere
Yeah.
but forward into the offensive player.
Right. You can back up to, protect yourself and say, "Oh God, I've made a terrible life choice. I'm going to get out of here now." Once they establish that legal guarding position, unless they go into the ball handler, it's going to be nothing. Here's another good example. This is on a rebound. This is going to be action on a rebound. Look right here, this action right here. We got a big fella against a smaller defender who's got good position for a box out. Let's see if I can't get a good pause here. Okay. This is, again, let athletes be athletes. And I love this camera angle because 23 is just taller. He outjumps that guy who was in front of him. The blue coach was going to be screaming for what? Say it with me. What is he going to scream that is not in the rule book?
Over the back, over the back.
Over the back, over the back. He's going to be screaming over the back. You can only have two things on a play like this from the player from behind. You're either going to, or excuse me, three things. You're going to have a push if he goes through him and displaces that defender boxing him out. Illegal contact, just crosses them, whacks them across the hand or, up beside the head. Theoretically, you could have a hold if he like grabs his arm or something like that, but that's less likely. So you can only come up with two calls, either a push or an illegal contact. And this is just a great camera angle where he just out jumps him and he's not, there's air there. That is nothing. And now he ends up not getting the rebound, but this was an athletic play. He didn't get the rebound, but I think he was like the starting center. Don't give somebody a cheap foul just because you're afraid of a coach screaming over the back. All right, see this one. See here what we got. Vertical on re last one for vertical on rebound for here. And kind of a similar situation. That player was just shorter and smaller. Now, I want you to know that, see if I can find it here. Body bump, look out, running out of bounds, rebound. Okay. So this is one where
Proving the deliver.
it was a foul. All right. I'm center here. We got lead here. There's going to be rebounding action on my side. Now, as the C, we're splitting the lane in high school. This is all my primary. Good nothing, good no call. And this action right here. All right. Now, that was advantage gained. He displaces number 12, White, goes into him, knocks him down. And my partner got an upgrade because that should have been my call. And I got a bit of a downgrade because as a center in a three-person mechanic, I got to come in and get that one. And I looked at that, I'm like, well, by golly, that's a foul. And I would just had my brain was just processing a little too slow, and I just had to have a whistle a little bit faster than that. So now again, he doesn't agree, but that's a foul. So I just wanted to share those verticalities. Those hustle plays, we're going to have a lot of those hustle plays where somebody's jumping on top of somebody. And if it's, a hard landing on top of them, get those ones. And other than that, I want to share one that I've shared before, and I'm going to share my screen here, is the old adage of, taking care of, business. And if you got to get technical fouls, get technical fouls. Get the ones that are taunting or are a lot of ostentatious displays. One's going to go in here, make a nice move, and uh, he's jumping around, cheering a little bit, got nothing yet. Now watch what he does. There will be a second camera angle where you can see it pretty well. And we both were going to have it, and I just got to it first. You'll see it better from the next camera angle.
That's impressive, being Herschel to the T.
All right, nice move. Great move. Little jumping, little slapping. Oh, eat the soup, eat the lunch, or whatever it is. Um, get those ones where it's taunting action. Don't get caught up in the moment and just let it play out. Um, watch this. This kid is going to shoot a three-pointer. He's going to make it. Watch what he does to the opposing team bench. Now, this center here should have stuck with that action and picked up this technical foul, but the lead sees it and gets it. That was the opposing when he turns and says something, points to the opposing team bench like that obvious taunting action, and the lead gets it. And, it's those ones that if you don't get them, is going to turn your game into something that you don't want. And that lead here, or excuse me, that lead, the center, look at what the center does after he makes the bucket. Where's his head looking? He's getting ready to turn and run up the court. Stay there. You're the center, man. Especially if you're in a three-person. If this was a two-person, maybe you need to still be hustling to get back, but keep your head turned around.
All
But
10 players are to the left of the C. There's
yeah,
no one up court. You count all 10 are right there. He
yep,
shouldn't have turned his head.
yep,
He's making a common mistake. A lot of times, an official, when somebody shoots a three, they put their hands up and then they go and they turn to the bench. You don't have to turn to the bench. Had he turned to the bench to make sure that they saw his hands up and his arms up in the air. You don't have to do that, and you just keep your eye on the play. You get your hands up, your arms up, and you don't look at the bench. A lot of guys do that all the time. They look over at the bench after a 3-point shot to make sure the bench sees their arms up in the air. That's their job.
I heard Jim's.
One good habit that was taught to me that I was teaching at some of the clinics for the newer guys over the last couple of days is as the center of the trail, when a jump shot is taken, take one slide step toward the end line, toward the basket, and it just trains your mind not to leave the play, watch the rebounding, and watch the aftermath. Just by taking that step toward the basket, well, when the shot's released, it trains your mind to stay there and not leave early to get to the other end of the court.
Yep. All right. So
Hey
that's
Shane,
it.
can I just ask a quick question
Yeah, please.
about the taunting, or just a reminder that MHSA came out with statements like we see fads all the time, and they wanted to make sure that we got like bow and arrows, which we saw head tapping a lot in football, so you're going to see it in basketball. When they make a great play on someone, they'll start tapping their head to say you're too short. Just things like that we got to get early.
Yep. You will rarely be downgraded for taking care of business like that. It's usually almost the other way around when people aren't taking care of what they need to take care of. So that it goes not so good in your favor. So does anybody have any questions on any of those plays that we shared? Anything other just rules interpretations, the new rules? I'm not stepping on the court for high school until Wednesday. I'm going to be watching my kid tomorrow. So for those of you who have anything tomorrow, not to, I'm going to be watching Jim tomorrow too.
Yeah,
And
your kid's in
for
danger of fouling out already.
that's only
I
because he's
have the
slow.
game.
Um, but questions on new rules. We've talked a lot about those other meetings. All right. So for those who want to log off, go ahead, log off. I will share my screen a little bit for purposes of a bit of a tour for Arbiter, updating blocks and stuff. And again, if you know how to do that, make sure you keep your Arbiter blocks up to date. And I'll show them some of the new officials around my MHSAA a little bit, the website. And again, remember, MIGS is not yet updated. It's in progress. Some of you have it updated, others don't. I'll send an email out when it is.
And
But other than that, just
hey,
again, thanks for logging on. Good luck, Jim. You got anything?
veteran officials who are going on to MHSA.com for the tournament, remember you have to make yourself available. The default is that you're not available for the tournament dates. Remember to make yourself available if you want to work the tournament.
Yeah.
And
And
that's on the
remember,
MHSAA website, dot arbiter.
yep. And remember, there's two, one for boys, one for girls. You have to make yourself available for both if you want to work both. All right. So, but for everybody else that's logging off, love y'all. Appreciate you taking the time to log on and
Stay healthy.
stay healthy.
Bob Check's listening now. He doesn't want to have to reassign your games.
Hey, thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you,
All right,
Darren.
see you, Darwin.
All right. So if you go to Arbiter, if you type in Arbiter Sports, you can
Thank you,
get
guys.
appreciate it. Arbiter.io, that's a new one. You log in, officials, event workers, email, and password. Oh, okay. Hey, two-step authentication. I'm never going to complain about it, but I'm going to complain about it. It's a good thing. All right. All right. So this is the first screen it'll take you to. For some of the arbiter groups that you're assigned, they can put out announcements here, and you'll see some of those. But usually the main screen that you're going to be using, and again, I just want to say this right now. So for those of you who have a gray silhouette, upload a picture, upload a professional looking picture. If you're on a desktop, um, you click this would be your gray silhouette. You click profile and you come over here and I could replace this photo. I could, if I had not yet a photo, I could, upload a new photo. Um, and then you just kind of navigate to wherever you have that photo saved on your computer and you just upload it. And again, don't have it be, you at a bar or something like that. But make it look nice and professional. Um, and here's where you update, if you move addresses, this is where you update it, emergency contact numbers, all that kind of thing. And that's how you get there. You go over here, click on the picture, click profile. The next most common screen a lot of people will go to is because you're like, wait, I have more games. Where are all my games? You want to click schedule and you'll see a full list of the games. Now, from this screen, if the league has their fee, how much you're going to get paid, this is where it would show up. Now, this one here, it's showing up as 0, but it's a girls varsity, so I know it's 115. Don't stress about it. You'll get paid, but you can tell that, for 99% of the other ones, it's showing up as, what I would get paid. Now, here comes up my first game coming up here. Wednesday, I'm at Clawson. It lets me know where I am. Uh, if I click on the game, it brings up this screen. And this hyperlink, it will give you like a direction. Or it will take you to like, these are all the individuals associated with the school, with the site. This address hyperlink, it pop opens a new window and it takes you to Google Maps, you know. So you can do this on your phone. For me on my phone, I don't use the app personally on my phone. I go like through my browser on my phone. I kind of, that works a little bit better for me, but to each their own. So if you want to get out of here, exit, and you have your partners here. All right. And if you're like, oh wait, I know that name. Who is that? I haven't worked with that person for years. Well, you can click on it, another window will pop up and let you know their contact number, where they're coming from, and you might be like, like, oh my goodness, they're coming from 90 miles away. Maybe I want to give them a call because I know there's going to be a snowstorm and, give them a call, see if there's going to be a problem. And they might tell you, hey, that's where my home is, but, I work right nearby. So,
Uh, On the phone app, there's also, if you're on this on the phone app, there'll be a link to text all partners too. So if you're caught in traffic or something, you can, you know, hit that link on your phone and text all your partners and let them know you're running late or whatever, or there's,
now,
or whatever is going on.
make sure that you have a phone number in here so partners can get a hold of you. There was an update to the Arbiter system, I think it was last year, where we all had to go back in and make our phone number that we wanted to be the phone number available to have it show up. And if I remember right, that is, I think that was under settings, perhaps. But again, for you, click around it a little bit. If you can't find, like, if your number isn't showing up, again, I would really recommend you allow your number to show up so partners can, get a hold of you. But again, this is where everything is, where you're going, who you're playing, the game number, all that. All right. So what we talk about for blocks now and payments, if you want to know if you got paid, this is where it's going to be showing up and it's going to show what school paid you. So I have a little uh, tick mark system on another calendar to let me know whether or not I received payment for a particular game. That's just my method. Everyone has their own method. Oh, real fast before we leave this screen and go to blocks. If you want to print off your schedule, you click that schedule hyperlink button and you select the date time that you want. You can export it to whatever kind of format you want, Adobe, Excel, a plain text file. If I do this, I pick Adobe. Sometimes I want to give it to my wife so she can make sure she knows where I'm going to be. Um, you select your date range, you click print preview, you make sure your pop-up blocker, are kind of turned off, and there you go. There's your schedule. Everybody's name, where you're going, phone numbers, officials fee, all that kind of stuff. It's nice. Now, I use Microsoft Outlook Calendar, and so I will go to Outlook Export, and I like to download all my games into a file, and I put it on a 6-hour reminder, and I export it. And then I go into my Microsoft Outlook calendar and well, and uh, and I upload this file. And boom, however many games I got are all in my Outlook calendar like that. And if you get things updated and you get different games on different days, you can actually, like, as you're uploading it, there's an option to say allow duplicates or replace with new things. And you can actually kind of override any of the new information going in. All right, so blocks. All right, so a little bit of orientation. You have here all the different assigners that have invited you to their groups. MHSAA, don't worry about blocking those dates because as Jim alluded to, MHSAA, if you get anything from them via Arbiter, is going to be for playoff games. And they don't use the Arbiter availability blocks for whether or not they're going to give you a game. It's what you mark availability on the MyMHSAA website as far as whether or not they think you're available. So don't worry about if you have
Well,
MHSA, don't worry about blocking that.
let me step in, Shane, because
Oh, please.
we were trying to figure out last year why Matt McDermott didn't get assigned
Oh,
with the crew, with our crew for the districts. Um, and he had his availability correct on the MHSAA, but when Laura Roberts or whomever at the MHSA office went to assign,
oh,
it showed it as a block date. So to be
I
safe,
stand corrected.
to be safe, have your tournament dates unblocked. But all you new people, you're not going to get tournament dates, so it doesn't matter right now. And it looks like mostly new people are still on board. So until you get enough varsity ratings, you won't be getting tournament games from the MHSA, so it doesn't matter. But in the future, keep Arbiter and MHSA.com availability up to date.
Uh, Thank you very much, Jim. Thank you very much. Kind of going along with that. So, red is that you have a full block that day. Blue is you have a game that day. And if I have it set right now for action to view schedule, uh, I can go here and I can see like which groups I have blocked for what time frame. So if you want to give certain days of the week to a certain assigner and other days of the week to a certain assigner, um, what you do is I'll make it up here, uncheck a few. Like for example, maybe I want to maybe I want to not let Bob assign me a game on the 14th, but I want to keep myself open for the Catholic League on the 14th. Please don't take offense, Bob. Um, I would go block. I have the MDAO checked, and I'm going to block it for the 14th. And it's going to show that that group number is blocked. Now, if I want to make sure I'm open for the Catholic League, I check the Catholic League, uncheck the MDAO, and it's going to now show that I'm available for the Catholic League. And you can always verify that by, viewing the schedule and nothing for the Catholic League. But if I go here, MDAO, it'll show me as blocked, but I'm only showing up as blocked for the Catholic League. Now, I'm going to say, oh, wait, I forgot. Maybe Catholic League's not going to play on Sunday. I want to make sure I'm available for Bob. I want to take that back. So I want to clear that block. I have it selected here, and then I click on the 14th, and now I'm open again, for Bob. Perhaps you work Monday through Friday or, Sunday through Thursday or whatever your hours are, and you want to set your schedule. But you don't want to have to go through one day at a time to click everything. Well, if you know you work Monday through Friday, and you want to maybe just block part of the day, you can say, I work a typical 9 a.m. job to, 5 p.m., whatever, something like that, 9 to 5. And I want to set it up for all of basketball season. And then if I click apply, that would create every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, between those dates for this time, it would block the MDAO from assigning me games for those dates and times. And so that's a quick and easy way to update it across the block. Now, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to have to undo a lot of, I don't have to go do a lot of work. But that's a nice kind of quick and dirty way. Dark red versus this kind of light pink red. This light pink red means you only have the day partially blocked for the NDAO. And so if Bob wanted to go in and give me a game on Christmas, because there's a holiday tournament, he can go take a look and see like what I don't ask me why I don't have Christmas blocked all day. I just don't. You can go in and kind of, see what times you have available by, again, going to view schedule here. Yeah, and look, I had it auto set up on Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. I was pretending like I was working on Christmas. Um, you will see that there's travel limits here, and postal codes, and Jim, I I was trying to update it. I'm not sure for all of our different assigning groups. Different assigners have to give, I think, people permission to set travel limits or change their postal codes and where where they're going from. And so, like, a lot of these are all grayed out for me. So there are
I think
settings.
the only one that's dark is MI Sports, which is Gary Wagenschutz a signing group. He will let you do that. I have never done it, so I'll let Shane say how. I work wherever. I'm a whore. I'll work,
Yeah.
you know.
And my recommendation is one, if you're a newer official, um, be as flexible as you possibly can be until you develop a reputation to be choosy or something. Just work wherever you can work. And even myself, like, if I can like physically make it to an assignment, I'll work that assignment if it's an hour away. I'll go see some teams maybe I've never seen before. I'm fine with that. Um, uh, I know for others, they maybe have a long commute, like maybe they live in Detroit, but they work all the way up in Pontiac or something. And they don't want to show that, they want to show that they're in Pontiac or they're coming from Pontiac at 5 o'clock or something. And again, I think you can only do that if different assigning groups will let you, and not all assigning groups will let you. Jim, unless,
Well, I think what you can do there, you can change your address to your work address, and what it will do is if Arbiter can calculate like how long it will take you to get from there to, let's just say, Harper Woods. If you're going from Pontiac to Harper Woods, if you don't get off work until 5, it's not going to let Bob Check assign you a game, a 5:30 game in Harper Woods, because Arbiter knows, because the address you have in is a Pontiac zip code, that you're not going to get to Harper Woods in time to work that game.
yeah.
So
And
when Bob wants to sign that Harper Woods game, your name at 5:30, and you blocked yourself from being available until 5 o'clock, your name won't even show up, I believe, when Bob looks to assign that game, because Arbiter knows you can't get there on time.
um, so other than that, is if you got special circumstances like that where you have like an extreme difference between distances, there's that option, and maybe you just kind of got to try to form a relationship with the assigners and kind of verbally or via email inform them of your situation. Any questions on like arbiter stuff, basics about blocking, looking up your schedule, making life a little easier, anything like that? All right. So we're gonna move on to the Michigan homepage here. All right. So you got the Michigan MHSAA homepage here. If you log in again, let me do username and password. All right, so now it takes me back there and it says my MHSAA. Get out of here. Click that box, click my MHSAA, and this is your home screen. This is where you can find everything that you are going to need to find out about yourself as an official. So for here, if you want to be postseason eligible, you have to have your MIGs checked and confirmed. And if it's a green check, you're good to go for that sport. and it'll show, it'll take you to the MIG screen here if you click the check mark. Now, well, how do I get back? There's no, maybe you can use back button, or you can just go up here and click My MHSAA, and it'll take you right back to this page. You maybe you have to add in your schedule because you have to work a certain number of games in each sport to be tournament eligible. And this, unfortunately, you can't upload from Arbiter. You have to have the Arbiter tab opened and this tab open, and you just have to type in the information. Do that as soon as you get they only want varsity games. Upload add in your varsity schedule. Now, if, for example, I just told you I'm watching my kid play tomorrow, but at the time I had a game assigned and I had to unfortunately work to get off that assignment, but I had already typed in this game. It's okay because it's not the due date. Just boom, contest deleted, and now that's off you can update this as much as you need to. If for example, if it's no longer going to be Roseville at Romeo, but it's going to be now Romeo at Roseville, you can click the edit button here, and you can come down here and you can switch the schools, and then you can click submit again, and it'll have it updated. One bit of a quality of life tip. We're all zone 3, Macomb, Oakland, Detroit, Wayne. Click zone 3, click save zone for that sport. So you don't have to click zone 3 for every contest you type in. And again, that's my boys schedule. But don't forget, if you want to work girls, you have to then separately go and type. A lot of people, they'll say, well, I thought I typed in my girls' games too. And what they did is they typed in their girls and boys' games all on the boys. So, just know that there's two different tabs that you got to click back and forth to update your schedule. So again, going back to official services, here's just another way of looking at it. Your officials directory, you want to look up a partner to shoot them a text message because their phone number isn't showing up in the Arbiter.
That's where you can find your MHSAA ID number if you don't remember it. Just click on directory and just look yourself up.
Yep. And, boom. And there I am.
And there's his number right with his name at the top.
Yep.
Blue.
That little number right there. So going back to the dashboard. So we talked about schedule, MIGs. That's something that we do on our end, and we're in the process of updating that. Here's that availability. And again, I'm going to show you the boys for boys basketball. They just punched these in. And I haven't done this yet. And so I'm just going to do it real fast. I know, God willing, I'm not going to be available for the district final, because maybe I'll be watching a kid play in the district final. You never know.
You're being optimistic, Shane.
I'm being optimistic. And Brother Rice might be in our district, so you never know. But obviously for the boys, I cannot work Bloomfield Hills boys basketball game. There is a conflict of interest there. And so I have it typed in that I can't work that school. And so if you have any other conflicts of interest, and if you're kind of thinking, is it not a conflict of interest? It's probably a conflict of interest. There's plenty of other schools you can work. Just, be on the safe side. Now for girls, I know I'm going to be available, so I want to make sure I'm available for all these. And again, it's going to be unknown. And if it's unknown or not available, you for sure won't get games. So that's all you got to do. Just go in there, and now you're up to date for your availability for postseason contests. Crews. There's an option to work crews and put in a crew for working districts. Um, Obviously, I'm not working boys districts, and so it's a question mark. This is optional. You do not have to be on a crew. But if I were to want to be on a crew, anybody, the referee, umpire one, and how do you figure out like, well, how do I get on a crew? You just get to know people and you say, hey, you want to work the districts with me? Yeah, sure. Any one of you three can punch it in for everybody else, and it'll show up on their screen that they're on a crew together. You can either look it up by somebody's, whoops, somebody's official ID, or you can like type in their name, and it does a decent job of kind of, filling in the blank. And as far as referee, umpire one, you two, you guys can just decide that. But again, zone maps, we're all going to be zone three. So crews are optional for districts, but it's not mandatory. Ratings, if you want to check out your ratings, you got to have a certain minimum number of ratings if you want to work certain level tournaments. Exams, again, this is where for the postseason consideration to work quarters and above, you have to pass by 80% and above. It's not out yet, so it's not showing up even as a red X yet. Um, does anybody have any questions about the MHSAA website, new officials, anything? All right.
Maybe you can show sport-specific content and how to
Ooh,
access it.
ooh, I like that. I like that because while it's not part of the My MHSAA, sports specific content, let's go here. So you're on the home screen. You go to My MHSAA, you get to all that good stuff about you personally as an official and your partners and stuff. But if you want to just get to like, hey, where's the mechanics manual? Hey, if you are football, where's the football ratings card to give to the coaches? You click officials. This is where you go to register. This is, other official services. If you're a new official, this is where you kind of register to view sport specific content. During the season, they often will upload memos and different bulletins and things as far as the season's going, like, hey, we need to do this more. Hey, don't forget, this is the rule for this. This is where you're going to find everything. And so you've got the officials manual here. You've got a generic pregame that you can go through. There's just and here's like the tournament guide. Wait a second. Where's the one officials reports? Apparel guide for basketball officials. This might be a little outdated by now. The rules have changed a little bit, but for whatever sport you're registered in, MHSAA.com, officials, sport specific content, pick the sport.
You don't even need to log in for most of that information. Things like the officials directory and the officials manual, I think they make you log in. But all this other information about rule changes and faking being fouled, you don't have to take the time to log in. Just go to the website and it's available.
Postseason requirements. It has the different deadlines. So if you forget what the deadline is, it's January 1st, 2026. God help us all if we forget that. That's an easy one to remember. But it also tells you everything you have to do. It has hyperlinks that takes you right there to do exactly what it is you need to do to be postseason eligible. We don't have excuses to not take care of this by the time we're supposed to take care of it. So
Hey, Shane.
good suggestion. Yeah, Nick.
I was gonna say for like when you go to look for your MHS your ID number, you would just hit that my MHSAA, and then you hit your contact information, and then everything is gonna be under there.
Yeah. Yeah. So all of these links right here are the same links right here. That these check marks, or they would show up as red X's if you haven't taken care of it yet, are right there. So again, they give you multiple ways to get to the same thing that you have to take care of. So good suggestion, whoever's suggested sports specific content. All right. It's 8:05. You know, for those who stayed, hopefully this was helpful. Any questions? Anything for the good of the group?
I'm just gonna say one thing, Shane, for the newer officials. Um, don't be discouraged if you don't have games on your schedule now. There's still a lot of games yet to be assigned, and it often takes you a year. And I'll say this: many games are assigned during the summer, even. So, um, you usually get a lot more games your second year than you do your first year, but there's still a lot more games coming from every assigner. Especially when you start getting, let's say that snow we had the other night happened tomorrow night when you had a full slate of games. Well, now there's going to be every school needing a game rescheduled, and there'll be a lot more openings.
All right. Um, all right. Very well and good. And to Jim's point, it's about gaining traction. It takes you a year or two to get your name and get yourself known. But once you gain traction, then things will start coming your way. And it can take a little bit as a new person, but we'll help you out. So I'll officially end the meeting. Guys, have a good day and you have a good one. And I'll stop the recording then. And good luck the rest of the way if I don't see you. All right. Bye.